Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Conversations, Expat Conversations with Michael Nolen. I want to say thank you for tuning in this morning. First of all, I want to let everybody know that this YouTube program is sponsored by the University of Guadalajara, and it's the Institute of Innovation and Governance, which is headed up by Dr. Marco Antonio Cortez Gradado. I want to always say thank you to him for allowing us to be able to do this program. Also want to say thank you to the university for allowing us to be here in Chapala, Lakeside, right at the beautiful Monte Carlo Hotel. It's a very, very nice facility, and they allow us to use their facility to be able to film all of our different shows. So again, thank you very much to the Monte Carlo Hotel and Resort. This is a very unique resort if you've never been over to it. It's just on the west end of Chapala, right on the lake. And the reason it's so unique is because the property's been here for over 100 years. Very well developed, beautiful trees. As I mentioned, it's lakeside, so that makes it very, very nice. One thing that's unique about this resort is all the rooms have thermal mineral water. So if you're taking a bath or a shower, you're not just getting tap water that's been through the municipality system. It's thermal water that comes from the ground. And also they have several pools here on location that is basically thermal water. So a lot of people come here for the property of the mineral water. Also, we have pickleball courts, which is very, very interesting for this area. It's a sport that's just really, really picked up over the last several years. And pickleball's just gotten larger and larger. They have a very, very nice restaurant here, as well as other amenities for conferences. And as I mentioned, it's a resort and hotel. So once again, thank you very much to the Monte Carlo for allowing us to film here. Today I have a very interesting guest. His name is Gabriel Vasquez. And Gabriel, thank you very much for your time. Come on the show today.
Thank you very much, Michael. I'm very glad to be here, and thanks to your audience for the attention.
I'm going to let you introduce your company and yourself, and kind of let's just talk about what you do and how you're helping improve the Lake Chapala area, and mainly Lake Chapala.
Great. Well, my name is Gabriel Vasquez. I was born and raised in Ocotlan, in the east of the lake. And I have a bachelor in social science in the University of Mexico City, and then I studied a master in watershed management. I worked for national parks. My career has been path in conservation of ecosystems and their biodiversity. So finally, after several years working in conservation in biosphere reserves in central Mexico, I back to Chapala, my born place, trying to do something for the environment of the region. I'm working as a director of an intermunicipal association devoted to environment, and my job is try to provide technical assistance to the municipalities to enhance their skills and to provide a regional perspective to the environmental problems of the lake. So that's what I'm trying to do. I have 5 years working in this association, and we try to establish an environmental agenda for the riverside region of the Chapala Lake.
Okay, let's talk about the lake itself. We are kind of on the central west side of Mexico, and if I'm correct, Lake Chapala is the largest body of water in all of Mexico, and if not Central America, correct, or this part of the world.
Yeah, it's the biggest lake in Mexico, the largest lake in Mexico. It's very important. It's the highest lake the highest and the largest lake in all the hemisphere.
We're at about 5,200 feet altitude,
yeah,
correct?
Yeah,
and how long is the lake from, say, it runs east and west mainly?
It's 100,000 hectares, the total amount of the lake. It's like 70 kilometers.
70 kilometers long from east to west.
And the 20 in the biggest side it's 70 and
from the north to the south, the largest is what? How many miles?
From the north, the side is 20.
20 kilometers.
20 kilometers more.
So that's
or less.
about 15 miles.
It's almost the size of Hong Kong, by example.
Oh,
There are
really?
60 countries which are smaller than Chapala Lake. So it's
a large body of water.
It's a
And
large
it
body
goes
of
from shoreline to about, I understand what, 20 meters? What's the largest?
14.
14? 14 meters deep.
14 meters, yeah.
So there's a lot of water over here.
Yeah.
And it's fresh water.
It's an old body. The lake it had millions of years since it's been created geologically by the conditions of the environment here, and we have in the last 100 years we have the deterioration of the lake. So it's
Well, the first time I ever saw the lake was in the year 2000, probably November, December.
Ooh, it was bad years for the
It was a
lake.
while ago, and honestly, you could go from the shoreline, where the shoreline was or where the docks were, you could walk down maybe a quarter of a mile, almost a long, long ways. Matter of fact, there were cars parked way out there before you came to the water line. It was very, very dry.
Yeah, it was.
And now it's very, very full. And I guess that's just like, the world changes. Everybody says, oh, there's global warming, there's world changing, this, that, and the other. It's been changing, as you said, the lake is millions of years old. It's been changing. There's been many, many cycles that it's very dry, many dry cycles that it's very, very full.
Yeah.
And for the last several years, we've been in the very, very full cycle.
Yeah, we have data for the lake from a century.
Okay.
So we can describe the lake during this last century. So it wasn't the worst season for the lake in terms of amount of water inside of the lake. In early 50s, it was worst. Almost right. It decreased to the 13% of the surface.
Only 13%
of the lake.
of the surface
Yeah,
was water.
in the 50s. Then we have the early this century, the first years that you are describing, that we have this problem. We have two dry seasons during this century of data. Right now we are in the 75% of the total amount of the water, which is good. The lake still have this capacity of retain water, which is good. The lake have three principal sources of water, which is the Lerma Lake, the Lerma River, which is one of the main problems also, the underground waters, which we don't have enough data and studies about.
It's natural spring water that comes in.
Where it comes, inside of the lake.
Okay.
We don't know where it comes, and it depends on hills away from the lake. And we have the rain,
Precipitation
seasons.
that comes
So-
in from, and there's a lot of mountains around the lake. If you're not familiar with Lake Chapala, it's a very, very beautiful lake, and it's basically surrounded by mountains. I think there's a couple of different ranges.
Yeah, so we depend on the pluvial precipitation for the levels of the lake. This is the three most important sources of water for the lake. So it had the capacity of retain water, but talking about the quality of water is other item.
Well, that's mainly what you're involved in. You're trying to make sure the water, because it is a water source for the city of Guadalajara, is it not?
Yeah.
And all the communities and municipalities around the lake, which there's many.
Six of every 10 houses in Guadalajara have water from the Chapala Lake. So it is about 60% of the water of Guadalajara comes from Chapala Lake. So it's important not only for the Guadalajara city, which is the second largest city in Mexico. Chapala is a hydrological interface of the Chapala-Lerma Pacifico Basin. So hydrologically, it's very, very, very important for the ecosystemic process of the western Mexico. 40 million people depends on this
On this lake.
on this hydrological
Wow.
system.
That's an amazing number of people, 40 million.
Yeah, Mexico City, Guadalajara City, and all Querétaro, Guanajuato State. 7 states depend of this hydrological system.
And the water, of course, you want it to be as pure as it can be. And one of the problems is the pollution that's in the water. There are water treatment plants like there are for any municipal water system. As I mentioned to you earlier, several years ago I was lucky enough to interview a lady named Bianca Jagger, who is ex-wife of Mick Jagger, the singer for the Rolling Stones. But she's very, very conscious about ecology and environment. And she did a documentary, I'm sorry the name of it slips my mind. But it was all about Lake Chapala and the different water systems that feed into it, and how several of them were very, very polluted. And it was causing a lot of problems to the very, very small villages and towns that depended on the water for the fishing, for their everyday use. And a lot of big factories and chemical companies and things like that were polluting it. And she was fighting that with the politicians to try and help stop and make this a much better and cleaner lake.
Mhm.
And you're kind of doing the same thing in an aspect, not making a documentary, of course. You're trying to make sure the water's as pure as it can be. And, well, I'll let you explain to me what you're trying to do.
Yeah, great. It's a contradiction because we cannot work in the water of the Chapala
Now,
Lake.
is it owned by the federal government of Mexico, basically?
Yeah,
Not
it's
not the different
of
states?
of the federal government,
Okay.
the National Water Commission, and the State Water Commission also. So we cannot work in the inside of the fresh water of the lake. What we're trying to do is to provide to the municipalities capacities to attend their environmental needs, to identify the environmental needs, and to provide technical assistance to face this challenge. And we try to work with the entire ecosystem, because one of the problems is that the water authorities have now the conception of the lake like an environment, like a organic body. So we're trying to work in the upper basin to trying to conserve the last natural spaces remaining in the upper basin all around the lake, and we're trying to restore these ecosystems, and we try to work with the communities for these projects. So we are working in the upper basin, in the communities, in the riverside, and with the municipalities. We cannot work inside of the
Is there
of the
a
water.
federal agency or someone that does work on the inside that's testing the water and
Yeah, the
the
one-
federal government do that?
Yeah, the federal government have a monitoring program for the quality of water in the lake. It's public information. You can have it in the internet page of this commission, but they only show us 10 or 12 of these elements of the water. So there's 100 elements inside of the water. So we don't have information about heavy metals, pollutants, phosphorus, or agrochemicals that came into the lake because of the agriculture in the riverside.
Mhm.
So we don't have enough data for this. It's not public. We only have a few of them.
Now, there is a lot of agriculture around the lake in different areas. I know there's a lot of maize or corn that's grown around this area, sugar cane. I know there's a lot of, and getting more and more blue agave, but that's probably a good plant for the lake because it doesn't take much water, and it'll grow in the worst rocky conditions you can imagine. What other types of agricultural situations are around the lake?
It's the main. The agriculture is not that big enough, but it's enough to use chemicals that.
And the
goes
chemicals
into
all
the lake.
wash off into the lake.
Yeah. That goes to the lake. You talk about the water treatment plants, which is a tragedy. We have already like 22 water plants around the lake. Only one works correctly.
Was that correct?
Yeah. It's a tragedy. So it's.
Now, is that the government's fault? We
Yeah.
don't like to blame anybody about anything, but there are problems, and there are people that are supposed to be taking care of the problems, and I guess water treatment plants fall under the different municipalities of the different states of the government. And they're the ones that need to spend the money to get the plants. And you're saying only 1 out of 19
Yeah,
is
one.
functioning properly?
The Chapala treatment plant works very correctly. It works very good. It's a very, very nice plant working, but the rest of them doesn't.
Not so.
No. It's a tragedy.
What else would you like people to know about the lake and what you do? What's your organization? And also, I want to ask you for another question. I'm throwing a lot of questions at you, and I apologize.
Yeah.
Go ahead and answer those couple, and we'll get to the next one.
Well, the relation between the lake and the hills and mountains, it's something that I like to enhance, because we are doing monitoring of the biodiversity in the upper basin. We find a lot of biodiversity, which is very, very interesting. We have the trace from the top 5 in Mexico, from the puma to small animals, all around the hills. It should be areas very impacted by the by humans, but we have very nice biodiversity. We have a lot of richness in the hills, so nobody cares about that. So we think the lake is only the riverside and the community is not. All the basin is it's amazing. So
Well, before, now there's always been native villages around here for hundreds and hundreds, if not
Yeah.
thousands of years. But they have not had an impact on the lake like man has over the last, let's say, 7,500 years.
sure.
And with all that construction, all the houses, all the buildings, all the different chemical plants and treatment plants and rubber plants and whatever type of auto plants, all the industry, that's had a major effect on it. As you mentioned, all the animals back 150, 200, 300 years, just they lived here. They lived close to the water.
Sure.
Now you can hardly get in a lot of areas close to the water because there's so many houses, so many plants, so many buildings, and that's had to have a major effect
Sure.
on the lives and the livelihood of all the animals and insects and bugs and
Everything.
creatures besides man.
Yeah, that's why we are trying to create some programs for the area. First, 6 years ago, we find that there was no legal conditions in the area to establish the urban growth, by example, or the productive activities, or there's no strategy for climate change actions for adaptation and mitigation. There was no wildfires program for the area. So first of all, we tried to establish a baseline of information and programs, and an analysis of the state of the area, to identify the main problems and try to make, we say in Spanish, herramientas normativas, normative tools. Does it make sense for you? Regulations, programs. So we spent 4 years trying to establish a baseline for this. Also, the information we have about the lake, there's a lot of information, but it's dispersed. There's no a nucleus that manage this information for the decision makers of the lake. So
Okay.
we try to work with this in the early part of my administration in Ipromadis, and then we try to establish programs. One of them is the creation of protected areas all around the lake. We convince.
Are there some state parks or different areas, municipalities that have park areas that nobody can build anything in?
With
And
regulations? You can use these areas, but you can use it with regulations.
Okay.
With the main goal of these areas is the conservation of the ecological conditions to make it positive for the lake. So we convince the state government, since the municipalities, we convince the state government to decree protected areas. We have 7 polygons, 7 surfaces of mountains all around the lake that we identified with the good natural conditions. So we make all the juridical process to decree as a natural areas. Now we have 3. We are working on 4 more. It's almost 1,100 hectares of land for conservation. So with this, we stop. We put a line for the urban growth. They cannot go higher. Higher this.
Yeah, I've noticed here behind, north and south of Chapala, Ajijic, San Antonio, which are towns that basically border the lake here, they're going higher and higher and higher up on the mountain, building houses and
Yeah.
clearing roads and things like that. It's starting to look a lot like California in the mountain areas, and that causes problems.
Sure.
And you mentioned fires and things a little while ago, that there's no bombados or firemen that protect the area. California, as we know, has had, and many parts of western United States, a severe drought, and they're having many, many massive fires. Seems like year and year and year, getting worse and worse. I've never noticed in the 3 years I've lived around here a big major fire, but I'm sure there are some that come from time to time. The lake area has a rainy season from sometime May, June through September, October.
Yep.
But then the rest of the year it's very, very dry.
It is.
And I guess it's just man not starting fires is the best prevention. And has anything ever happened where it's gotten out of control like it has in California, things like that, big fires? Because they probably don't have the resources here to fight them like they would in in other states and countries?
We made a study about the conditions for wildfires here in the regions. So we have the more fragile points all around, and we install a brigade of 20 fire workers, 20 firemen. It's okay. We raised the money to finance this brigade. So now we install this brigade that gives services to all the municipalities around for early attention for fires. This season, the last season, we have 76 fires in the area, and we attend this early. So we have these prevention actions for this. And during this season, we are November, December, January. We work in prevention actions for this, trying to retire the combustibles in the upper hills. So now we are working since 3 years ago with a brigade to attend all the upper basin of the Chapala Lake. So we start working with this, and it's working very well.
That's fabulous.
We establish a baseline for this attention in the area.
Well, as you know, the name of my show is Expat Conversations with Michael Nolen. And we basically try and get information about many, many topics out to the expat communities. Mm-hmm. How can the expats that live here, and I think around the lakeside area there's probably 30 or 40,000 people live here either permanent time or their snowbirds come down from October, November to March, April, depending on the weather up in Canada, the northern United States, and other parts of Europe. How can they be involved? How can they help you?
Well, first of all, we arrived working here in environmental items. The expat was the natural allies because they care about environmental more than Mexican community. So first of all, we found a lot of interest, a lot of sympathy for our jobs, which was very good working in environment because nobody cares environment in the area in terms.
You can tell that by just sometimes the trash you see thrown on the streets and people, changing the oils on their cars or their vehicles and just letting the oil drip onto the ground.
Yeah, in terms of commute and mobility and a lot of things. So we found a lot of interest in the expats community, which is very interesting for the area because for me it's a very amazing metaphor of what we have between our countries, America, and United States and Mexico, in a local level. So it's very interesting. The social all this social complexity of the area, having indigenous communities 20 kilometers from here and having the largest community of foreign people in my country, it's amazing from my perspective, professional perspective. So we have a natural allies in our job. They come closer asking for programs. And we found people like the Rotary Club that was
Rotary International. I know in my time in Puerto Vallarta, I interviewed 3 or 4 of the Rotary clubs because there's 4 over there all the time. And they were really, really helpful in going to the small villages all around the Bay of Banderas near Puerto Vallarta and helping the indigenous people with pure water. A lot of them were just drawing their water from the small lakes and ponds, and they were giving water filtration systems, and they do that here also. The Rotary International is an unbelievable organization, and if you're an expat, if you've been involved with Rotary in the United States, Canada, they're all around the world. There's many, many great programs that Rotary International does, and if you were a Rotary member anywhere in the world, and you're living here now, full-time or part-time, they would love for you to come and join their organization and be part of the Rotary International here. But they do a great, great job, and you're working with them. I know you've given speeches for them and talked to them how they can help more and get other expats involved.
Yeah, we learn a lot of this group about volunteering, about goodwill, which is, as you know, is not a very normal figure for Mexicans, this volunteering activities. So we are working in a rural community near to the Chapala in this site, Ojo de Agua, with a pilot program to provide drinking water to the community. And we are working in this community trying to enhance the livelihoods with the help of the Rotarians, and we're doing a great job as a pilot of what can we do as an institutions and community of expats in the area. which is good. We are working very, very nice. We are having very good goals, and we are working very, very strong together, which makes this possibility to work with more expats, which have a lot of expertise, a lot of skills. They can teach a lot of things to us. So, but we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to get closer.
Well, we want to invite all the expats who are living down here. If you worked in this type of industry or this type of business, or if you're just interested in environment, if you're interested in where you live and you want to help, I'm going to have Gabriel give out some contact information so they can get a hold of you.
Yep.
And you know, I don't know how y'all are funded, if you're funded by donations, by investment by municipalities, by the government, but knowledge, helpfulness, volunteering, you can always use that kind of education and knowledge of other people, but also money. If you need donations, and the expats can donate to you all, if you're that type of charitable organization, or I don't know, why don't you explain how you're set up and how they can help if they can?
That's what I say when I met the Rotarians. I already have a budget to work, so money is not.
It's from the
always,
municipalities.
Yeah, from the municipality and the state government. I have a budget for the operation of the association. What we need is allies, friends, complices. We need people. We need goodwill. That's what we have. I already have a budget, so which I say is not enough always, but more money is always okay. But what we need is their skills. We need to learn to make it better our job. We need their perspective. So.
Well, that's an invitation. Any of the expats that are listening to the show, no matter where you're at in the world, I mean, you don't have to be living here in the Lake Chapalaces area to help. If you're a biologist, a marine biologist, if you're some type of expert in water treatment plants, ecology, and you want to contact Gabriel and just say, hey, we'd like to help. I've got some information, I've got some reports, I've got some knowledge. I'm going to be down here on vacation. Can I come and visit with you for a week or so?
Yeah.
You're open to all of that?
Yeah, I'm open. Something very, very important is we have the programs. We have the legal provisions to make our jobs here in the area, and we are learning how to bring to the Riverside international funds by United Nations, by World Wildlife Fund, stuff. It's new for us. We don't know how to do that. And I'm very sure that a lot of people in the expat community have this engineering to share with us. So we have the goodwill to learn about that.
Okay. So we've been talking about how the expats have been helping through the Rotary Club International, and how they can help more. Give out, if you don't mind, Gabriel, some contact information, phone numbers, email, whatever, to where if they do want to help you, they can call you, contact you, and be involved with your organization.
We have this Gmail, ipromadis.gmail.com.
Okay, I'm going to spell it out. It's AIPROMADES @gmail.com.
That's okay. That's
and
correct.
you mind if I give out your phone number?
Yeah, they come. Yeah.
Okay, Gabriel Vasquez it'd be 52 if you're calling outside of Mexico. That's the area code or the country code, and then 376-183-1519. And of course, it's Gabriel Vasquez. And call him, talk to him. He can tell you how you can help. You can explain a little bit about what you're wanting to do, and y'all can get together and be successful in what we're moving on to do in the future.
Yeah, it will be great help for us.
Is there anything, we're getting ready to wrap up, is there anything else you want the expat community to know that I haven't asked you, or just general? I mean, expats, I hope, aren't the only people that watch this show. I hope people from all over the world are. And if there's other organizations or other maybe officials that are listening in different capacities that could help you, how can they? Please wrap up by kind of telling how we can get word out to people and information out to help you and your organization.
Well, not only my organization, the Live in the Riverside and the Ribereños. As I told you, I find this region like a very amazing metaphor of what we are between our countries, the relation between our countries. So it's a local expression of our relation between the two countries. So we can make things different since this area, and we still lost in translation between the two communities. There's a very nice event here in the Riverside, the Chili Cook-Off event, which is very nice. It's very amazing. It's very funny, but there's full of foreign people, no Mexicans inside. We still face to face with back to back at the same time. So how are we going to break this this difference between our community? We live in the same community, we live in the same neighborhood, and we're still facing difference between our communities. So
that's one thing I noticed when I was living in Puerto Vallarta for 5 years. There were a lot of festivals. I mean, everything from chili. We had 2 chili cook-offs a year. We had Mango Festival. We had Raicilla festivals. We had tequila festivals. We had every kind of festival you could have. We had a festival just for festivals. It was just to have one.
yeah,
And all over the Bay of Banderas. And it was really, really well attended, not just by the expats, but by everybody in the community. Very, very well attended, and a lot of the indigenous people would come and hold fairs and educate people about the different crafts and arts and things that go on in the different villages and different areas of Mexico, like Ajijic, Oaxaca, Chiapas, Chihuahua, all over Mexico. And it seemed like Puerto Vallarta, because I guess that's more of an international touristy area. Over here in the Lake Chapala Society, and I'm not sure about San Miguel Aliente, but you're saying the festivals don't have the intermixing of the Mexican and American peoples like they did in Puerto Vallarta.
we can build a very beautiful community with the best of each community. So
That's
we
true.
have this challenge. We have this generation change. We're facing this generation change in the area, so we have to create a very nice community that face that we can build a strong relation between us. So
Well,
I think
all of
this
us-
is our major goal.
All of us expats have to learn that we are visitors in your country. We may have temporary residency, permanent residency. Some people do have a Mexican bi-nationalities. They can be citizens in different country and Mexico if you want to work towards that goal. But we can all work together because we all live together.
Yeah, we're neighbors.
And no matter where you are, who you are, if you're down here in this area, you're going to be drinking water out of the lake. You're going to be enjoying the activities on the lake. If it's going out to one of the islands or taking a boat cruise or fishing or whatever you may want to do, we're all in it together.
Yeah.
And it's one small world, and we're all dependent on each other, and it's best that we help each other.
Yeah, I think that's our major goal for the institutions in the lake. First of all, we have to establish a baseline of data, yeah, but we have to establish a baseline of community. So I think that's our major goal here.
Well, in closing, is there any other topic or anything you want to just get out?
There's a lot of talking about environmental. There's a lot of.
Yeah, we could
But
go
we
on
don't
forever
have
and ever.
every time. But well, we have to work together. My institution is open to all the people, so everybody's welcome here.
Well, Gabriel, I want to say thank you very much for taking your time to come and touch the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more
Sure.
can go on, and we can talk about so much more. But we've gotten the message out, and that's my main goal today, is to let people know about your organization, about yourself, about what you're trying to do, and how they can help you.
Yeah.
And hopefully today the show will be able to get that information out a little bit. And again, thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure
you.
meeting you.
Thank you, Michael.
And
Thank you.
If you have a situation or something in the near future or distant future that comes up and you want to come back on and talk some more, you're always welcome.
Building this community we want to have here depends on people like you that link the goodwill and the people. Thank you very much.
Well, you're very welcome. Okay, we're going to close out this show. I want to say thank you once again for watching Conversations with Michael Nolen, all about expat ideas, subjects, things like that, and appreciate you watching today, and we'll see you on the next show. Thank you very much.
Happy trails to you until